Ooh, good old US of A. Please get this correct because America first, our taxpayer dollars, blood, sweat, and tears, cyber attacks, all that stuff is on the freaking line. If unless you live under a rock, it's highly likely that report indicates there's a significant increase in violence and organized crime in Mexico because of the government, the Mexico government's taking out of El Mincho. And now he was the leader of the Jacilio New Generation Cartel, the CJNG. I'm probably mispronouncing stuff. Please forgive me because not only do I not speak Spanish, it's America. So sometimes I mess stuff up like that. Now, he was a prior police officer in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, and he was arrested a couple of times in San Francisco. And over the years, he built a large drug trafficking cartel that was extremely violent. A lot of reports say that behind, I don't know, they say that kind of behind like Pablo Escobar, that he may have been the biggest. He might be the biggest that's outstanding, even bigger than like the Sinaloa cartel and stuff like that. There's been attacks ever since he was taken out, and high levels of his security team have been taken out. His son has been arrested. There's been attacks on institutions like government buildings, on security forces, on banks and institutions. There's been roadblocks. There are about 31 states in Mexico, and 13 of those states have had violence since he was taken out. That's crazy. Imagine out of our 50 states, one scumbag is taken out, and then an outburst in 7, 8, 9 states were to occur at the same time. Craziness. Reportedly, allegedly, the number of attacks have been rising. And the thing that has me kind of like the most, my kind of like my ears perked up the most, you really gained my attention, is the coordinated ambushes against state and federal law enforcement agencies throughout Mexico. And infrastructure and economic interruptions is something else that I'm not a big fan of either. We have a lot of American and Canadian tourists that are in Mexico, told to shelter in place. Airports getting attacked. They can't make their flights. They have to stay where they are. Drinkable water is an issue. They kind of want to go out and get more drinkable water. Food is an issue. They're trying to figure out are they able to go get food. And today, the president of Mexico, she got out there today and said it's safe to drive. It's safe to get out there. And it almost reminds me, you ever seen 2012? And it's that part of 2012 when the fake Arnold Schwarzenegger gets on the screen and he's up there reading a speech and they're like, everything's fine. And then like moments later, there's an earthquake and the San Andreas fault like begins to rupture. Her speech today felt like that. It felt very like everything's okay, nothing to see here. Now, I believe that this is not going to be widely ongoing or much wider spread. I think this is an initial reaction to their top dog being taken out, but I am nervous about that it's going to slowly consolidate and become maybe like lone wolves, more targeted. And it could eventually, if we find out the extent for which the United States participated in getting rid of this guy, could affect Americans. I got 5 cities I think that could be affected by that. And then we got to talk about Iran as well. This is a longer one because it's kind of like 2 subjects in one. I kind of think that both of them deserve a little bit of airtime. The first city that I could see that the cartels are pissed off at, that they feel like that they can reach out and touch Americans or American infrastructure. The first one has to be Los Angeles, California. The threat is the sheer size and diversity of Los Angeles allows the cartel to operate and blend in very seamlessly. A whole lot of folks could be mistakenly thought to be a Mexican cartel member, such a hodgepodge, a melting pot there, that the whole like port of Los Angeles situation, the port of Long Beach offered like a massive maritime entry point. You got land entry points as you go further south past San Diego. It's just so many different areas there where there could be disruption. A takeover scenario by cartel members of different institutions, not of all of LA. It's millions and millions of people there, but you got from the hills to the docks, all sorts of vulnerable institutions make it like urban warfare very, very viable. Like a territorial protection rackets could come into effect. And that type of stuff makes me nervous that if we rattle enough cartels, that would be one of the first cities I think would be super duper vulnerable to anything going down. The next one will probably be Phoenix, Arizona. Now, a lot of these places, they're in the South, they're near Mexico. The threat there is that it's vast, it's spread out. And the thing is that this place here is kind of like their staging area when they first bring drugs in. When they're moving drugs, when they're smuggling people, trafficking, all that type of stuff. Phoenix is like a staging area. It's one of the first major cities once you cross into Arizona from Mexico that can go off to different places and hit major interstate highways and send stuff off into where they need it to go. So that vast landscape is something that the cartel can take advantage of. And that scenario would lead me to believe that it's vulnerable as. Now, before you get super comfortable thinking X, you're talking about a bunch of cities that are border states, and we don't have to worry about that crap. Maybe, but also I think that the third biggest target could be Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois, over 1,000 miles from the southern border. But the the Drug Administration, the Drug Enforcement Administration's frequently identifies Chicago as a major hub of where cartel money gets ready to flow back south and drugs land before they get distributed. So it's like a second home to the cartels up there. And when you disrupt their main home, which is Mexico, you do have the Sinaloa cartel has a major presence in Chicago. Now, this was not their leader that was taken out. It was one of their rival cartels. But the thing is that this distribution center of the Midwest, if they feel like there's an interruption, the cartel could be activated and be doing all sorts of crazy shit in that city, like within no time. There's a threat and they can use different gangs and make them like subcontractors. So you're the cartel, you got Latin Kings, you have gangster disciples, you have Bloods and Crips and et cetera, that you can just, pass a little bit of money and bring chaos to the streets. So the reason I keep saying that, America, please get this right, is that we continue to give intel so that they can take out targets. These places, these institutions, these cartels could begin to attack us Americans and our institutions. And that's something I definitely don't want to happen. The number two place that I think is crazy vulnerable to a cartel hit right now, El Paso, Texas. The El Paso, Texas, it's one of the most historically violent cities in America when it comes to crimes. It serves as a gateway to multiple different cartels that traffic their drugs through there. The proximity to the border means that literally it's so easy for folks to get into the United States in that major town. And they can cross between different sovereign territories of Mexico and the United States within minutes. So if the violence in Mexico were to spill over into the United States, I think the first city that will feel that will be El Paso. It's a choke point where sovereign Mexico becomes sovereign United States by tripping and spitting the wrong direction. It's so very, very close. And then we got to talk about the biggest port of entry in the United States when it comes to humans entering, Laredo, Texas. Tons and tons of people cross that border every single day. Millions of people cross it every single year. It's a legal point of entry. That's an easy takeover scenario. I'm not saying easy as in the cartel will have an easy time at it. I'm saying that it is a soft target. Yes, it's being protected by DHS and Border Patrol, and we also have other agencies down there as well. But if it got rattled enough, do you not see these targeted attacks that took place in Mexico? That would be one of the first places, Laredo, that I think would be something that would be targeted as well. Please let us get this right when it comes to Mexico, because I feel like we were on a high horse in early January. We took out Maduro. A lot of people were saying like, well, what about Mexico? I mean, you're using assets to take out Maduro for drug stuff. Why would we not go into Mexico, who's an ally, and they will let us go in and blah, blah, blah. This is about as close as them letting us go in as it gets. Now, reports right now says we just gave intel. I'm going to believe the Mexican president till I get more evidence. I'm going to say that is what we did. So the Mexico thing is something that is a physical threat that I think we need to caution ourselves on. But America, please get the next thing right. I just really, really ask that we do so. Iran, whatever you want to say. Operation Midnight Hammer kind of solidified the fact that we have got to continue to save face if things don't look like they should. After Operation Midnight Hammer, we had high level officials in the government, to include the president, saying that we obliterated their nuclear program. Just yesterday, we're getting high levels people in the government saying that Tehran is within a week of having a capable nuclear, I guess, enriched uranium so that they can prepare to make a nuclear weapon. Just from last summer, we completely obliterated it. I can't say that word well. To they're a week away. That's a big difference. And so, are we believing intel from our greatest ally? Is this intel that we have ourselves? I want us to get this right. Indicators say that we're going back in. There's a lot of them. Talked about the stuff that was going on last week with the Gerald R. Ford as in the Abraham Lincoln, two massive aircraft carriers that we have in the region. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the Gerald R. Ford. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's just talk about some key indicators that says that we may be doing prolonged strikes in the region very, very soon. Number one, it's reported that the country India has told its embassy in Tehran to prepare for evacuations if they have not already started them already. Well, high-level diplomats get a lot of word from country to country, being courteous to one another of when they say, hey, you know, your embassy's kind of close to where we're about to strike. You might want to go and get your people up out of there. That's a key indicator to me that we maybe have something going on. A bigger indicator beyond just the Indian actual embassy is our embassy in Lebanon. Non-essential personnel have been evacuated, told to go and get up out of there. We've evacuated folks. So now the U.S. State Department has issued alerts in multiple places. First, Lebanon, because of why? I don't know. They've issued alerts for Mexico. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. The reason I say going back to Mexico, I don't think it's going to be prolonged. They have the 2026 World Cup. I don't think they want security issues. I think they'll let other countries come in and help with security issues. They don't want to lose that. Okay. Here, but we've gotten two alerts from the State Department. Both of them lead me to believe that there's big things happening. Why would we tell non-essential personnel in Lebanon to go and get up out of there? Regionally, they're very close, and there could be proxies that belong to Iran that could strike our embassy. I mean, look what happened in the 80s. So we already know the capability of our vulnerabilities in Lebanon, what happened to our Marines in Beirut. So we already know. We want to be cautious and think about that type of stuff. So Beirut, Tehran, Mexico, different places where I'm just really hoping that we get this right. I don't want to spend an abundance of money. I don't want to have any possible casualties. And I will say this, and I don't want to make this prediction, and I don't want it to be right. But if there are prolonged airstrikes in Iran, counter strikes, I do believe there is a higher likelihood than zero that we have casualties. I don't want that to happen. Now, speaking about our troops, our sailors, our Marines, they're on the Gerald R. Ford right now, and dozens of toilets are not working correctly. There are lines upwards of 45 minutes just for people to take a shit. Men have it easier than women because men can just piss off the side of the vessel into the ocean. But the number two is the issue. And they may have to get to the point where they're resorting to like burn pit type stuff, where they're, shitting in a bag and taking your stuff to the top deck and you're throwing it in like a 10-yard container, which a merchant marine vessel can bring a 10-yard container to the deck of the ship and start a burn pit if they need to. And that will really suck. Burn pits freaking suck. So that cannot be fixed until the ship can go into a dockyard, until it can go back into port. Their mission has already been extended. Those sailors and any Marines on the vessels have that mental anguish of just being out there longer, having to do River City and not have communication, having certain hours you're allowed to go to the gym. You're a certain rank, so you have less privileges. The sleeping quarters completely suck on a ship. Haircuts are going to look atrocious if you don't get it by a real barber. Like having to clean random pieces of brass. And now you're having to wait 45 minutes to take a shit. Bro, the military is real life. I just want us to get this right. Now, the cyber capabilities of these two places bring us to today's video sponsor, which is Aura. I have the family plan with Aura. That means that me, Mrs. X, and all 5 of our kids, we will get an alert. Well, me and Mrs. X will get the alert. Our email, social security numbers are put on the dark web. I think that the cartel in Iran both have cyber capabilities, which if they can't reach out and touch a brother, that cyber security awareness and protecting yourself is like incredibly important. Ransomware attacks on institutions like banks went crazy high. And now individual attacks on people, DDoS attacks, attacking and stealing your information is a thing. In 2014, as I mentioned, my information was taken by the Chinese along with about another 1 million Americans that were active duty or federal employees. Ever since then, I don't play around when it comes to my cyber footprint online. You should not either. Click the link down below and check out Aura for a 14-day free trial. Not only can they help let you know if your stuff's on the dark web, but they also have great ways for data protection and try to get your stuff away from data brokers. And shout out to Aura for sponsoring today's video. I think that it's a big deal that we have so much going on. We have a lot of just irons in the fire right now. And if you're a blacksmith and you have all this work to do, it's kind of like, man, oh man, where do I start? Which one's the most important? Everywhere from Venezuela up north to Mexico, east towards Lebanon, and further east towards Iran. So many things that we have to worry about, and I just want us to get this right. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.